has to remain anonymous. He's got family, and the people that he was talking about, they have family. Some of these people are still alive. But he said this to me. I'm quoting pretty much verbatim. He said that the stuff you see on the History Channel, it's all true. He said he was involved in stuff. He's seen stuff. He's talked to people. He's had conversations. He talked about when President Eisenhower visited. He confirmed that whole thing about the dental trip, and it was just all a ploy to get him over to, I believe it was Edwards Air Force Base, where the craft was down and this whole meeting thing took place. You know, it's just, again, it's one guy saying something, but the guy is close to 80 years old. And, you know, I tracked him down. It was through a story, finally found the guy. And he wouldn't come on the record, per se. He just didn't want to do that. But he gave me some interesting ideas. So, and he says that he told me this, that the government already knows about all this stuff. They're holding the lid on it. Here's what I think. They're holding the lid on it for a reason. They're waiting for the perfect event. And I believe, I write about this, I believe this event will be this war in the Middle East, this Ezekiel 38-39 war. Israel will respond by using their nuclear weaponry. We will watch it on CNN and Fox News, just like we see stuff when, you know, shock and awe, right?
Sure.
In Iraq, same deal. We'll all watch this stuff together. The world will gasp in horror as Israel uses the neutron bomb. There's an option that they have. I write about this too, which is called the Samson option. It's already there. They already got this thing. It's the whole thing of, like, you know, when it looks like it's going to hit the fan, Samson took the pillars and collapsed the temple and killed everybody.
And himself.
Israel is prepared. They will not lose. In other words, if they feel like they're about to be overrun, they will use their nuclear arsenal. I believe this will trigger the supernatural. I believe that this will trigger this so-called coming great deception, and we will see exactly the type of stuff that Spielberg's movie serves up. We will see E.T. as our progenitors, E.T. as our savior. Okay, we're back. You can't keep doing this. We'll show you who God really is. All these religions were all part of the same thing. Here's an interesting article. This is from right out of the Vatican, okay? It's from a cardinal. Listen to what he says. And, you know, some people may take issue and say, well, what's wrong with that? But it goes right into the whole idea that Revelation talks about. And remember, look, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not pulling out of my hat. These things were written thousands of years ago. I mean, they've got ancient manuscripts. I mean, in certain universities, you can go and handle this stuff from like the 2nd and 3rd century. So it's not, you know, we're not making this stuff up. And like, again, I said 150, 200 years ago, people would read this and shrug their shoulders. It didn't make any sense at all. But now that we're in the time of the end, because Israel's back on the homeland, which fulfills another prophecy, another one of the ancient prophecies, some of this stuff is making sense. Here's what this cardinal says. The guy's name is Cardinal Turan. He says, sometimes, he says, for example, I'm going to India next month, and I want to give this message that all religions are equal. Sometimes there are priorities because of particular situations, but we mustn't get the impression that there are first-class religions and second-class religions. So this whole idea, in my opinion, of this one-world religious system, I mean, Bush is going to convert to Catholicism. So, you know, what am I saying by that? Am I saying that you know, one religion is superior to the other? Am I even going to go there? I'm just saying that ancient prophecies talk about a one-world religious system. You know, are we looking at some early salvos here when this cardinal knows something that that the rest of us don't know? Is he kind of an insider, like when the Vatican says the extraterrestrial is our brother? Are they prepping us for something? Is this why the Denver press conference came out and they showed the video of the alleged alien, you know, peering through the window? And I mean, who knows whether it's a hoax or the real thing? And then, of course, we got the Stevensville flap and ongoing UFOs and crop circles and all sorts of stuff's going on. It's the most ongoing supernatural event on the planet, and it's not going away. It's not going away. And I think that when this war happens in the Middle East, that's when the revealing will happen. That's when they'll pull the trigger, and we will see these craft over the cities of the world, kind of like an Independence Day thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Great movie.
Great movie. Except without the war. They'll be sitting there, and people, you know, here's a scenario. Is this what's going to happen? I'm just traveling.
And do you think governments know about this?
Absolutely. I mean, why would France release its UFO files? Britain releasing its UFO files? And
well, what are we holding back for?
Well, I that's the whole deal. I think that that we're following protocol, which is established at the Roswell incident, where we can't do this. Look at what happened with War of the Worlds. Can't let this thing out of the bag. It's going to completely destabilize our religious system in this country. It won't happen. But see, if you do it, it's so brilliant when you think about it. If you do it with the whole idea of this nuclear thing and a nuclear war, let's say, in the Middle East, where everyone's looking at the carnage and people were just, it's not like World War II with Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Remember, there were pictures of that, yeah, and we all saw them, and they were horrific. But it's not like watching live TV like we get now, where it's like instant feed, and we're looking at this stuff, and, cameras with troops that are embedded, right on the front lines. It's unbelievable when you think about the technology that we have, beaming your satellites, and we're all watching this thing together. What better time to reveal themselves right after that type of a catastrophe? The world is poised. They'll listen to anything. What do they want? The world wants peace. We all want peace. That's what we want. And if they come promising us that and showing us that, these religions around the world were actually started by them, like we referenced Barry Downing Jr. when he's discussing the whole idea that all these supernatural events or miracles in these ancient scriptures are caused by ET. So a person's going to have to make a choice. And what I find interesting, in the words of the first century rabbi Yeshua, he says very specifically, he says that what's coming on the earth would be so severe that even the elect would be deceived if that were possible. His words 2,000 years ago. So I mean it's a very sobering statement. What's coming on the earth, that the elect would be deceived if that were possible. So this deception that's coming, people are going to look at it and they will embrace it. They will willingly. I mean, it's not like people are going to have to have their arms twisted. They will embrace this coming deception willingly. Talk about an event in politics, prophecy, and Georgia. We've discussed this before, so I'm not going to get, and regurgitate the whole thing again. But quickly, the Fatima apparitions in 1917, and I realize a lot of people don't, believe it's the real deal. But when you go back and you look at the records, like some of the references that I've looked, apparently what people are looking at is a disc in front of the sun.
Well, that's what I've heard some people say.
And so they're looking at this, and they're saying, I looked up and saw a silver disc. I looked up and saw a gold disc.
That's what came down in front of the sun.
Exactly. And what I found just incredible is there are no pictures of the event at all. There are pictures of everything else except the actual spinning disc. Yeah, there's the clouds parted and the sun's there, but there's no pictures. I believe they were confiscated for a reason. I mean, that's a whole other different conversation.
I mean, some kind of major event occurred.
Major event
no
occurred.
Doubt.
70,000 people's worldview was changed. Their whole paradigm was changed in an instant. Look, Ricky Sorrell saw this thing. I sent him my book, by the way. He saw this thing. He was his words. He was overwhelmed. He told me, when he looked at this thing, when the lights come on, he says it's just the most unbelievable thing you've ever seen.
If one believes in true religion, should they be offended by what you're saying tonight?
Well, that's a
tough question, isn't it?
That's a really loaded question. I mean, I guess you have to define what true religion is. I'm not a religious person. Okay, I don't consider myself a religious person. I don't follow this, great system of rules and all this other stuff and ceremony, and I'm just not that way. What I believe in is more of an experience which I've had, and it's ongoing. I've had it for almost 30 years, and it's the idea of somehow there's been a connection with what I believe is a very benevolent, the same guy who wrote some of these prophecies has somehow able to communicate to me, and not only myself, but other people with the same type of experience. And this, of course, again, back to prophecy, this was prophesied. This was the birth of the Christian religion, and it's got completely obfuscated over the centuries with pomp and ceremony and circumstance and rules and regulations and cathedrals and stained glass windows and incense and a priesthood over the laity, and on and on and on it goes. And when you look at the religious words on the planet, you just kind of shake your head and go, this is crazy, this is barbaric. And it's not what it was supposed to be, and it just isn't. And that's what I kind of adhere to. Simply put, it was called, in the first century, it was called the Way, the followers of the Way. So that's kind of what I'm into and what I believe, and hopefully they won't be offended on it. They should look at some of these prophecies themselves. I mean, I would just challenge even the most skeptical person the most skeptical person, to look at Ezekiel 38, written 2,500 years ago, Ezekiel 38:39, read it,